hold on. This is asking me to do something. Sure. Let's. How do you pronounce your name?
Lamb or Lambros?
Okay. Okay. How do you prefer?
It does not matter to me.
All right. Well, Lamb sounds good.
What's up, Tony?
Doing good, man. All right. So I don't know if you want to kind of record our conversation or if you already got that started.
Just started it.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So, why don't we just start off with you kind of telling me your thought process, what it is, because I understand that Jackie's had at least, I think she's had how many sessions with you so far? 5?
No, we're on 4 going on to 5. I think session 3 was, we made great progress in session 3 because we went out and did public access, right?
Mhm.
You know, that was Tawny's best day ever. We went to the, Kiesel Park. It's a 70 to 100 acre park where, we got to explore, we got to sniff, we got to run around, do all these fun things. And then we took a step backwards and worked recall in the house, or in the backyard. And that's something that I disagreed with, but they insisted. And so we did it anyways. I wish I could figure out how to turn my camera around so I could show you my yard.
No, yeah, it's okay. So that's an awesome yard.
All the dogs. I've got some of them inside, but mostly everybody's out right now.
Yeah, that freedom walk that you're doing with your dogs right now is great. That's really, really awesome. And all right, so let me kind of just tell you, I guess, my thought process is, and I just kind of wanted to tell you just kind of how I think. I'm sure we're probably in alignment with it, but whenever I'm working with clients, I don't let clients dictate what I want, what they want.
I totally agree.
Okay, it's you're the expert,
right?
So you have to, you need to understand that when you're working with clients, most of the clients that call you are already in an emotional crisis state.
Right.
Right. And so what happens oftentimes is because you're a trainer and your heart and your passion's behind this, when you see that discomfort, it's like watching your child struggling. The thing you want to do is kind of help them with their discomfort. And so that ends up becoming a snowball effect. And then next thing you know, they start to dictate how you want to train. And then once they dictate that, they're not going to get the results. You're on uncharted waters because it's not something you normally do. So you're out of your element. And I'm not saying Jackie is doing this, but past clients will blame you for the lack of
for sure
process.
And I debated it with her for a while and was like, we're really past this and this and that, but I'm still having this issue when you're not here. And that, I only have so much time to argue with how something goes. And then I said, okay, I can probably find a way to make this beneficial and constructive, even though to me, it feels like a step backwards. I'm not going to argue with somebody for 2 hours. It's not worth my time. I would rather find a way, and that was really my thought process. Find a way to make, meet her in the middle and make it worth her while, and really go over the things and concepts that are not clicking, and look for the root and the handling, and then try and get the big picture again. I'm not one who cranks out obedience with my dogs. One, I don't have the time. My wife, veterinarian, we've got 16 dogs. I don't go and make them sit. And I don't. We do go out. We play. We spend a lot of time. We ride bikes. We do a lot of things that are fun. But I'm not one that's like, you got to lay on a cot for 45 minutes. Because I said so. I'm not that type or style of trainer. And I feel like a lot of people expect obedience to look like that when really I just want a cool, calm, confident dog that knows how to live its life. You know, that's what I want in my programs, and that's really how I teach. And you know, it's intangible to a lot of clients. They don't understand it.
Okay. So would you say that the YouTube video that you shared with me is not something that you normally would do?
I think that what that session was a means to an end. And we're looking to create little points of information to utilize in our day-to-day life so that we can unlock more freedoms. But that's not, you know, that's not how or really what that's not my goal. You know,
Okay.
there's much better answers and solutions to what we're trying to accomplish. But this is how we've seen everybody do obedience. And, you know, we can utilize these points of information like a marker system, right? We understand, yes, we did something right. Good, we're doing something right. We need to fix it. No, that's way too much. You can get in trouble for this, right? Something can result in a loss of your freedoms, or, you know, that have found to be more valuable than, you know, a punishment, right? I worked with a bunch of military working dogs that, you know, have taken lives, and I can't physically punish that dog in a way that it's going to be received. That dog's just going to fuck me up. You know what I'm saying? A dog that has spent 5 years in Afghanistan and has a double-digit kill count, you can't correct that dog. You have to, you know, barter with them and meet them in the middle. And, you know, this is how we're going to live. And there's, I guess, corrections. And I say corrections in a way that people perceive correction, right? A leash correction, e-collar correction, you know, grabbing the dog if he does something wrong. You know, that is not really on the table for a dog that's willing to come up the leash and fight you. You know, we got to create good habits and live in a positive manner. We've got to have freedoms and say, hey, we're not going to do that, and barter with the dog.
Right. Okay. So when I work with clients, so one of the things with me is because I work with clients worldwide, and I specialize in wolf dogs. And a lot of the times I can resolve those issues. I don't even have to be there. A lot of the clients are in disbelief at first, but I work with a lot of clients remotely. Then before you know it, they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is working. And you're not even here to work with a dog. So the jumping all over Jackie, that behavior that's really causing a lot of emotional trauma for her living situation. One of the things that I notice is that jumping behavior isn't actually the behavioral issue. It's a symptom.
I know.
It's a symptom of the behavioral issue. So when we work on the actual behavioral issue, Jackie doesn't even have to directly work on that jumping. It'll just dissipate. It'll go away on its own. We don't have to work on it directly. Working on it directly causes confusion, and it could possibly cause more of a confrontation.
I agree.
Lucky for her, we're dealing with a giant puppy. So have you ever heard of the term a twin behavior?
No.
Okay. So a twin behavior is a related behavior to the primary behavior, but it's less offensive to the owner. And unbeknownst to the owner, they're supporting that behavior, which in turn is creating this primary behavior. A lot of times it's a behavior that the owner enjoys and nurtures unknowing to them. So it's a behavioral chain. Right?
I call it chain learning theory.
All right. Yeah. So I always like to tell my clients, you know, when we see like imagine a chain, there's 13 links on it. One of them's red.
Yeah.
And that one gets your focus. So you keep focusing on one. Just click the chain link above it. It's much easier. It's not rusted. Some other behaviors are going to follow with it, but that behavioral issue you're having an issue with will go away on its own as well. So what I do is I look for twin behaviors, and one of those twin behaviors that I notice, especially in this instance, is the Kind of losing a little bit of my train of thought. But basically, if you asked me a question, if you said, "Hey Tony," right? I can see you're walking with your dogs free there, and that is the most awesomest badass thing. That's awesome that you're doing that. But if you were to ask me, "Hey Tony, how often do you walk your dogs?" And my answer is to you, "Oh man, I don't walk my dogs. They have a yard."
Right. We don't ever go on walks. Never. No leash walks. I don't use a leash with my own dogs unless I have to.
Right. Well, it's the same thing. Like if you ask me, "Hey Tony, do you do any free walking with your animals? Do you take them out on trailheads and go out and do stuff?" And if my answer to you was, "No, I don't need to. I mean, they have a yard." There's a lot of things wrong with that comment. That's
Right.
a horrible perception. So many things create abnormal behavior by just keeping the dog in the yard. Right?
I know.
Okay.
And even the 10 acres that I have is not enough to satisfy me mentally. I want to go places. They want to go places too.
Yeah.
And we get pent up here in this amount of space, and I can do a lot on a day-to-day, but I notice when I don't leave the house for a long period of time, I get depressed. My behavior, I get anxious, I get antsy. I got to do something different. And to have a dog in a yard for 8 to 10 years, 8 months, whatever it is, and we don't go anywhere, there's so much that we're lacking in a day-to-day life that issues will arise.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that to be very true.
Good. Yeah, absolutely. So that's one chain. That's one link that's above that red link.
Yes.
Okay. There's another link that's above that red link. And that is, and the best way to describe that is, what is separation anxiety? And how, and what causes separation anxiety? What causes separation anxiety is one, the overuse of stimulants such as toys, food, overexcited people, right? Combined with a barrier that causes mental frustration, which could be a house behind a gate, behind a window, right? So it's really, really obvious that in that video, there's separation anxiety right from
Yep.
the get-go. As soon as you guys go into the yard, I can see the separation anxiety happening right inside that enclosure. And that enclosure is the baby gate of the yard. That's what's separating the dogs from their owner. It's separating Tommy from Jackie. And that's just a buildup of frustration.
I'm totally with you. And I think that a lot of the root cause of the problem is the lack of socialization. And when I say socialization, I mean the ability to engage in the world around us, be it going out and exploring new environments, going out and meeting people, having a level of mental satisfaction that we're not currently getting. And that will solve the problem, I think, in its entirety. And having little moments, this is where I utilize obedience, to correct the, to band-aid the symptom. Right.
Yeah.
But we have to address the root cause, which I've, said we need to go out. We need to go to downtown Auburn and we need to meet a lot of people. We need to walk around. We need to just go see things on a day-to-day basis. And that is going to be what will fix the problem. But the symptoms that are not Band-Aid right now are inhibiting her ability to do these things. So that's where we're really having our issue is we need to address the symptoms before we can cure the cause. Because there's not a capability to handle Tawny in a way because she's like I said earlier in text, she's Diet Coke and Mentos just shaken up, capped, and waiting to explode every time we open that gate because we're not getting what we need. And when we get what we need, that behavior will subside. And I know that.
Yeah. The unfortunate thing, though, is when you take her out of the enclosure and you're doing a training session with her. So when you're using your operant conditioning, as your way of interacting with her, that conditioning just creates more of a stimulant. Okay.
I agree.
And then what ends up happening is then we expect Jackie to be able to practice this. But after you're doing that work, after the stimulation is kind of subsided and he knows Tawny's doing really well, the worst thing to do at that moment is to say, okay, I'll see you next week. Let's go put her back in the enclosure. Right.
So I suggested off camera that she stays out, that she gets to spend the time with Jackie because she did so good. And, you know, but the house is not dog proofed or this or that. And, you know, if if I totally dictated the session, we'd be on, we'd go on a leash, we'd come out, we'd go get in the crate, we'd go in the car, like in the crate, in the car, we'd go somewhere and get to do something good and, kind of skip all of that we, filled in an hour with. It's not important. It's not important to me, but it's important. I think that it is important for Jackie to see that she can be controlled in a way. And I'm also trying to kind of dissolve the fears and see that, she is intelligent. She works. She understands what I'm asking her, but we've got a disrespect and disconnect between the two of them. So, Jackie really wanted me to board and train her. And there's really two reasons why that I didn't want to do it. One, I'm not in a legal state. I'd need to get licensed. I'd be happy to do it. Having her here, it doesn't matter how good she is for me. Doesn't matter. I would not, if I had her here, I would not have a problem with her. She'd be great. Doesn't fix the problem with her and Jackie, though. So that's why, that's the primary reason why, I don't want to get fined $1,000 and go to jail for 12 months. I don't. And I don't want to have her where my wife could lose her DVM because we've got a illegal animal here. It's not, I would love to have her, but we got to do the legal steps to get her here. And then on top of that, it doesn't fix her issue.
Jackie would be upset if she found out that she was that Tawny was confiscated while she was in your care. Yeah, no, that's a huge snowball effect. So the thing is we have to find a way, right? Because it's the wolf dog community that's creating a lot of this trauma, right? So whenever I'm working with clients, one of the things I really am adamant about, and I'm even toying with even adding it to my service agreement, is while they're working with me, you cannot be on social media and you cannot be on any dog, because then it becomes I'm arguing with your social media group because you're going to them saying what you're doing, and then they're saying, well, that doesn't seem right, and then you're coming back with all of these rebuttals, and then I'm not working with your Facebook group, I'm working with you.
That's right.
So
I tell my clients that as well. I'm like, there's a lot of good information and a lot of bad information. And I would rather, and there's you can find a ton of good trainers on Facebook, and they all have an answer to the problem, and it may work for them. But there's a bunch of different paths that you can take that you can find success with. And it boils down to your situation and how we're addressing it. And if we throw in all these different dynamics, you go get information from somebody else that may work, but you're not getting the whole program and full process, you may be working against us.
So it's really important as a professional to really have that stern line, and you really have to kind of say, if I catch you on social media, because I'm on social media too, and I see you're engaging and posting and these kind of things, we're just going to have to discontinue our relationship. I really put it that way to clients, which really gets them to wake up and realize, oh, okay, I agree, to get them on board. Now, the emotional trauma that's arisen from not being able to trust Tawny is something that we have to issue. That is one of the other links of the behavioral chain. So that's what we have to focus. We focus on her. We focus on Jackie's emotional trauma from the experience that gets her to trust Tawny so we can get rid of that enclosure. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the behavior of the whole jumping and the over antics that Tawny is doing will just go away before we even have the chance to address it. It'll just go away. So my thought process is, it would be great to have Tawny do a freedom fit, which is basically getting her to a really contained, open, wide area
Yes.
and letting Tawny run it out. That is going to give Jackie a freaking heart attack,
I know.
because she will not listen to you. She's got so much pent up energy. She's going to be disconnected from you probably for hours before she decides she wants to hop over and walk over to see what you guys are doing. That's going to cause more emotional trauma. That, on top of that, is that I've done stuff like that before, and sometimes with a wolf dog, they'd have to stay the night. They won't come to us at all.
Right.
Right.
So
So now the dog has to stay the night there. Sorry, don't worry. She'll come back. She'll figure it out.
that was my day one advice. You're welcome at our old property anytime. It's fenced in a safe way where you can just let Tawny go and be free. And I mean, that was my day one advice. And I continue to rehash that as the solution to her, like the core issue is just that much more freedom is going to eliminate all that pent up energy and allow her to be a dog. You know, right now we don't have enough space or freedom to be a dog.
Yeah.
You know, we're kennel crazy.
Yeah. So the wolf dog community has put it into a lot of people's heads that you have to double leash your wolf dogs. You got to make chew-proof leashes,
No.
right? Because they feel, because as soon as the wolf dog goes off, they're going to take off on you. And one of the things that I always talk to other wolf dog people about, as I say, that's abnormal behavior. That's not normal behavior for not even a wolf. That's not normal behavior. And the usual rebuttal I get is, oh, well, that's what wolf dogs do. That's exactly what they do.
But if they're doing that, there's a reason why.
Yeah,
they've done that.
Wolves are a strong family unit, right? When you separate them, they howl. Wolves have the most high intense separation anxiety with one another than you could ever even imagine. There's no way they would just leave their pack unless it was good reason, like if they were getting chastised. It's impossible to shake a wolf dog away from you. They won't let you get very far, right? So it is the basically they feel that freedom has to be earned, and it's just a freedom fit that they have to work out. Okay. So one of the things that one of my mentors has done is he's created what's called a freedom center, right? It's a freedom area. Very similar to kind of where you're walking around now.
So I've tried, you know, and I tried to get us to where my old facility was like this too. Let me tell you a little bit about my background. My mom's a specialized veterinarian. My dad's a specialized veterinarian. I grew up in a canine research facility sanctioned by Auburn University. We had 40 dogs when I was a toddler on 70 acres. I know what it's like to be out with free dogs, right? I know, and that's like, I had tried so hard to, and I am going to continue to try to get that across. Like, just go and sit down there, take your hawk, fly your hawk in there, hunt your squirrels all day. The neighbors are great. They're not going to bug you. Let Tawny just be out and be loose. Let her be in that yard and be a dog. Let her go dig. Let her go hunt the moles or voles or whatever they are. Just let her be a dog for 2 hours. You know, and if we can do that, then a lot of the issues start to dissolve. And there's a need. There's a need to do that on a regular basis so that our brain is exercised, our body's exercised, our spirit is free, right? And we're not just
it's like humans, right? We can't say that the government probably is already doing this, but the government's not saying, hey, you guys don't need freedom because you guys are domesticated.
Right.
No, I do need my rights respected. I do need freedom. So let me explain to you, because this might be something that you might have a thought process of doing with your property in the future. because that big wide open area space, and I mean, it would be a shame to get rid of that big wide open area space, but when working with clients, it's too traumatic for them. So let me tell you kind of what one of my mentors did. He had 25 acres, like he had about 50, 60 acres, but he had 25 acres for his freedom area. And what he did was he created something very similar to a race car track. It was basically a path that was numerous feet wide, like it wasn't a hallway, but it was just a giant path that just made a complete circle, right, around the property. And then what he did was he divided sections of that path into 10 sections. So each section was about 2.5 acres, but it could be opened up to go into the other section, and then you would have 5 acres. Then you could open it up, and then it would go to 7.5 acres. So he could open up the sections, right, as he went along. And so one of the things that he would do was he would walk with the client in that area. And the first thing he would say is, okay, let your dog off leash. And right away they'd go, oh, no, I can't do that. We won't be able to catch them.
That's
And
fully
he'd say,
fenced in.
way out. There's nowhere the dogs can escape. I promise you, they're not going to run down to, another city. They can't get out of this compound, this facility. Oh, but we'll never catch him. So that was the hardest thing he did. So he'd say, listen, if your dog won't come to you, it's not your dog. Your dog, if it won't come to you, whose dog is that? It's not yours. So he would eventually have them let the dog off leash, and he would just get them through their emotional trauma of seeing their dog run around. He'd say, hey, let's keep walking. Let's talk about this. Oh, I understand you got married twice. Oh, you have 3 kids. How old are they? You just start walking with them. Now, once he got into the second section,
hi guys,
he would say, go ahead and call your dog to you. And she'd say, oh, he's not going to follow me. I know that. Just call your dog to you. Okay. Phoebe, come. See, she's running out there. Okay, no worries. And then he'd close that section. He'd say, we're going to continue. She's locked in that section. She has 2.5 acres all to herself. This track makes a donut. So we're going to go right back into that section anyway. We're going to continue our walk. And what would happen is eventually the dog would realize, oh, shoot.
I've been left.
Where'd it go? And the dog starts running around in panic, like a child lost in a mall, wondering, losing track of their parents. And it would run around on that 2.5 acres trying to figure out how to get to the owners.
Right.
But couldn't, because it's in a 2.5 acre section. Then by the time they got around, they'd open up the section, go in the section that the dog's at, and they'd say, your dog's here somewhere, just call her name. And sooner, before you know it, the dog's bolting out of a bush going, oh my God, I was looking everywhere for you. And then the dog starts joining them on the full 25 acres. And if it doesn't follow them, we just shut that section of the acreage. That dog's trapped in that acreage now. And after a while, the dog just learns to, hey, stick with the owner. We can't get too far. We have to keep an eye on it.
That's
so
right.
That's something that would be hard to do because fencing is expensive.
We have exactly that here. I've got a five total fenced areas. Some much smaller than the other. But yeah, I utilize that same concept in working with, fearful dogs or flight risk dogs or really any dog, and I've got a nice group that we own that, once the dogs realize that they're cool, they're social, have, normal, stable social dog boundaries, and they want to be a part of the group. And if they're off sniffing on something, we walk off. Right.
Yeah.
And then they realize, oh man, the group has left me. I need to sprint over there to get to them. We manipulate the environment in a way to create better behaviors.
Yeah, basically, you can't control the dog. You could just control the environment and have a good environment that the dog can make those mistakes and learn from them. And you're okay with the mistake. You're okay that they're not coming back.
That's
because
right.
there isn't anything that can happen.
I tell people that it's okay to put your dog in a controlled situation where they're gonna fail. And I say controlled, like we're not going to do that thing in a parking lot where there's 30,000 cars that go by, right? We want to do it in a controlled environment, controlled. environment, like the fencing. The dog has the freedom of choice. They're going to make the wrong decision. We're going to walk off. Ultimately, they'll make the right choice. And they're going to learn from making the wrong choice. If you don't ever make the wrong choice, you don't understand that it was wrong, right? And then you need to understand the value in the right choice. We get to explore the 25 acres versus the 2.5 acres. It was 10 times as great as the 2.5 acres was. So there's much more value in doing the right thing than the wrong.
Absolutely. A lot of these Facebook groups are basically really horrible past zoo-like containment theory. Yeah. Okay. So you are 100% totally on the same page. Totally on the same page. Okay.
I operate 120,000 member Facebook group. I founded it, and the IQ, like the average IQ in the group, is low. And I've had to monitor and correct a lot of the advice and disallow information and very carefully put in information. They see something that they disagree with. A painted dog is abuse, right? A dog with dye on their tail is abuse. And that was the good way to describe the IQ and general population of our group. It's a bunch of fur moms that think, dyeing a dog's tail is abusive. And so then, to get all the concepts and training and how and who dogs actually are is like a whole nother level. And, there's a lot of steps to properly do that.
Yeah, for me, because I've done a lot of research with wolf dogs, I almost put things in perspective. I usually say, hey, why are they shutting down SeaWorld? Like, what is the reason why they shut down SeaWorld? It's because they were abusing the animals psychologically.
Yes.
Okay. Right. And how did they do that? Containment and using food as a way of getting desired behavior. It's like taking your child and regulating their food until they get better grades. They start creating mental disorders and even eating disorders as a result of that.
I'm not a fan of food deprivation at all. I mean, why? Like food, and people even go to the extent of water depriving. I'm like, why the?
Yeah. So I'm like, so using food as your way of managing your dog that whole time keeps them in a primitive state. And they'll never get latent to the point that they could just be free with you and make really good decisions because they're primitive. And that's because the way you're using that food. So here's what my plans were with Jackie. Because I know what she's I know what she's feeling through because I've been there before. I've been in that situation. And if you had met me maybe 8 years ago, and you told me, Tony, you should take your wolf dog and come on my property and let him run around, I would unfriend you on my Facebook. I absolutely would. You're a crazy person. You don't know what a wolf dog's like. You haven't met this wolf dog. Have you ever owned a high content? I'd make every excuse why you're unqualified. Okay?
I feel like that's the primary issue that I'm dealing with. And one of the things that Jackie said to me is have a conversation with them, and maybe you won't have problems with your wolf dogs in the future. And I was like, Jackie, I didn't have problems with my wolf dogs. And I hope that I can get you to that point too. And, I agree with you. Treat training with Tawny is not the answer. It's a momentary means to an end that is only going to get us so far if we don't change how we live.
Yeah.
And that
for her, even doing the e-collar work, even if even her using the e-collar in an open area like you're using it is still not going to rip that band-aid off. We can't use the e-collar either. She's got to feel that sense of freedom, and Jackie has to feel that little empty, like, oh shoot, in my heart. I always tell people that when you're walking away from your wolf dog and you're thinking in your head, oh my God, I can feel the distance. I can feel the distance in my heart that they're not really with me. Just so you know, your wolf dog feels the same thing you're feeling. They also feel, oh shoot, she's getting far. And they'll only allow it to the point that they're comfortable before they start running up to catch up to you.
Well, let me pause you there. I don't know that they have that bond. I don't know.
You know?
I don't think that there's so much value in the relationship that we can only use that today, and trying to grow the relationship and is a core part of the program that we're working, because it's not there. I mean, it's not. Hey guys, it's not there. Um, it's just not there, and that needs
Yeah.
to be mended. The relationship needs to be mended.
And she knows that. She knows that. But it's not going to be mended the way that the sessions are going at this point. So how are we
I
going to do that?
I I
So
think that you know, it needs to happen through unlocking freedoms, and that's what has to happen.
let me tell you, I gave Jackie some instructions to follow this week. Okay. But they're baby steps, right? I'm not giving her the full picture, right? So the first thing I wanted her to get was down to a routine, and also to stop using that enclosure. So she had mentioned to me that she can have them running in the backyard and she's not concerned about them getting out. So I thought, oh, okay. Well, that's one reason why we should just get rid of
I
that giant baby gate.
I think that they can definitely get out of their yard as it is.
Okay.
Uh, and I also have been working to get rid of the enclosure. That's a core issue. But when I mentioned it early on, the response was, "Oh, you should see some of the other enclosures."
Mm-hmm.
Right? I addressed it as a problem fairly early on, and you should see some of the other enclosures. So the information that I'm giving,
Video, I'm sure you saw my enclosure in the background. It's 100 foot by 100 foot enclosure. If you saw my video, you may have seen it in the background, but my wolf dogs are in it, right? So we have to. There's a way that we can give Tawny access to the yard. There is a way that we can make it so that yard is safe, and we could also and it won't cost a lot of money. She doesn't have to alter the yard. She doesn't have to put dig guards. She doesn't have to put lean ins. Nothing that's going to piss the landlord off. There's a way we could do it. I'm not going to mention it on video because
she needs. Well, I'll say it. She needs to hotwire the top and bottom of it. And where it is, we've got rotted pieces of wood where we can stick our head in with stimulus on both sides, dogs on either side of it, and we're pushing through the fence to go say hello or whatever we intend to do. They've got hot wire around the enclosure. It needs to be extended throughout the yard.
Okay. All right. You said it. That's exactly what needs to happen. It can be removed. It doesn't need to make the place look ugly, and she can remove it before she moves out. All right.
And where I tried to send her, and what I recommended she go do, and she can sit there daily. There's nobody that's going to bother her. It's all hot wire. Electricity's on. It's safe. And the space is, it's 6 acres.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, my property is 7 acres, and my wolf dogs are running around on that. So, except for the funny thing is they don't even use my 7 acres, which really pisses me off. I did all that work right on my porch, and they won't leave. I'm like, go play out. It's like yelling at your kids, go outside and play. That's what I bought this beautiful house for, right? And they won't go outside.
Like, don't you want to be outside right now? Well, not if you're not going to be out here with us.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what happens. So she needs to experience that, and that has to happen in baby steps to give her that confidence. So what I had Jackie doing is I've had her go get the largest crate she could find, okay, and she has that. She's gonna have that in her house. And what I'm doing is I'm having her use that crate not as a crate. So I'm telling her this, it's not even a crate. Tawny is not going to be put in there. We're never going to shut it. The whole point of that crate is just as a feeding station. It's just where we feed Tawny. That's all.
Cool.
So I said, so what you're going to do is every day, and this is just a baby step, every day you're going to walk Tawny out of the house, and you're going to walk no more than 30 seconds away from her home territory. Okay. Now, I didn't say it had to be a 30-second walk. I'm saying just don't be any further than 30 seconds away from home territory. And then you come right back home. Okay. And the first thing she said is, oh my gosh, I could do that. She felt very confident because she's close to home and she's not going far away where she's panicking, going, oh my God, I hope nothing bad happens. So
Right.
she's only 30 away from the house. Then you come back home. And when you come back home, there needs to be food already in that open crate pushed to the far back. You just let Tawny off. And it's really important to use word association because that's what we need to build that bond and just say, go back, just go back, right? So Tawny will go into the crate and eat. And if Tawny decides not to go in the crate and eat, it's not a big deal. This is the part where you learn it's okay for her to make that decision. You have to be okay with that decision, but Tawny has to come up with a process and get over that on her own.
Right.
Right, without any assistance. She will eventually eat. I promise.
I think
so
that well, she'll eat immediately. She's so driven for her food, she's gonna eat it immediately. She is gonna go in.
Routine of get out. It's almost like a routine of what's that disorder where people are scared to go outside?
Oh, it's probably rooted in obsessive compulsive disorder. Something down the line of that.
They'll race to their mailbox and check their mail and come back, but they're not going to go beyond that mailbox. So it's just go 30 seconds away from the house, come back, and do that feeding station. The other thing also too is what will help Tawny is that Tawny will understand the purpose of the walk. Because what happens is a lot of times people feed their dogs first, then go for a walk. Well, then they can go pee and poop. It's better to feed after the walk because dogs don't walk for exercise. They walk, it's purposeful behaviors. And there's a reason why.
It moves the bowels.
Yeah.
I've been doing that. I've got a puppy in potty training, and I mean, this puppy for 15 days would hold it and wait till we come back inside. We were reverse potty trained. And it's I mean, 15 days to we finally got it to where we're not. And I had to shift how we lived multiple times till we understood that we're supposed to go potty outside.
So what I'm doing is, and this is really, this portion is not latent learning. This portion is more about nurturing innate behavior with positive reinforcement, but indirect positive reinforcement, meaning that the food's not coming from you, right? So I go for a walk, 30 seconds, and over a period of time, Tawny's going to know we're going for a walk because I'm going to come back and my food's going to be there. We're going for a walk and I'm going to come back and my food's going to be there. So the food's going to be that reinforcer, obviously, right? So when Tawny goes for a walk, she just knows we're coming back home to eat. But it's not a primary reinforcer per se where it's coming from the hands of Jackie, because we don't want Jackie to be that source of that bond. We want a different kind of a bond with Jackie.
And that has been a key issue that she's had in the behavior around the feeding. I really think that's a brilliant solution. You know, it's not a step, it's a brilliant solution for the problem within feeding. And, you know, we were talking about, you know, we feed Knox out and we just put the bowl in for Tawny, but then you still have all the initial frustration of, you know, we're behind the fence and the food's coming and all that bad behavior's happening, and then the food comes anyway, right? Instead of having that short little walk. And I think something that you've done very well, and is, I mean, phenomenal information, is that 30-second walk. That is, I probably should have thought more into baby steps, and I was, in terms of micromanaging the problem so that we could get to the bigger answer. But a lot of times, and something that a lot of people in the training world don't like, but I like a lot because how my environment is set up is flooding. Something that you said in your video is when introducing the new dog, you do it in a very gradual way. I know that my dogs are going to ignore the new dog that I have. They're going to go do all of this. They may come up and sniff once or twice, but we walk right into the situation. If the dog is, you know, a dog fearful dog, or a normal dog too, a dog aggressive dog, we're very dog aggressive, I'll probably start with 1 or 2 dogs. But that's still a lot further than a lot of people would do. and I don't really do any muzzles or anything. My dogs know that this is an aggressive dog, and they're only going to get so close. So,
Well, because you have experience and you don't have any emotional trauma.
well, let me tell you this: working with military dogs, I was mauled. I mean, I've been severely mauled by dogs. I do have some trauma, right? I know what it feels like to get shaken in a
Well,
live bite.
I know you have some reflex there because I saw in that video where Tawny did this one quick jump and she nipped at your face and you saw it coming. As soon as she jumped up, I said, go whoop and dodge it right away. So I know you have some experience with very like probably Malinois and alligators and all kinds
Yeah.
of stuff.
Yes.
So anyway, so I'm starting off with Tawny just doing that, right? Just getting a routine down that she can get comfortable with. Okay. The next thing I told Tawny is we have to get. I mean, the next thing I told Jackie was we have to get Tawny to have the freedom of coming in the house and
Yeah.
leaving the house,
So,
in the house and leaving the house. So what I told Tawny was,
so let me pause you. Leaving the house is in leaving the house back into the backyard.
yeah,
Okay.
yes,
I
yes,
I I'm with it. I'm
okay,
yeah. I'm full. I fully agree with just about everything that you have said.
okay.
In terms of addressing what we're trying to do with Tawny. And now let me tell you a little bit of how I've been implementing the e-collar and why I chose it. Because the level of correction that Jackie is able to give in the Band-Aids, we'll call it the Band-Aid Band-Aid era, right? Momentary problems that are reinforcing our traumas, that's inhibiting us to unlock the freedoms. So red space, green space. Red space, we have engaged in a negative behavior. And I like to use vibration because I'm trying to mark a point of time and bring awareness to dogs' awareness into that point of time, right? It's not supposed to really be a harsh correction. And I don't seek to deliver harsh corrections, but to understand that from point A to point B in your chain learning theory, right? In the chain, these three chains, I need you to be aware of these chains and we're going to cut them out. And so to be inside, we'd use vibration for like, we put our mouth on something that is dangerous to us, right? Or we're jumping up and getting on the countertops and this stuff that Jackie's going to be upset about that's going to disallow the freedom. And to say, we repeat that a couple times and the freedom continues, right? Because we've not done these things, or the freedom discontinues because we've done something that's very bad. So we're aware that we did it bad, and the chain leads to us losing that freedom instead of us gaining or continuing freedom. And it be, I'm trying to make it less of a fight for her, and I would prefer not to have to use it at all, right? But I don't know how Jackie is going to manage her without some type of manipulation in that way.
Okay. So the instructions I gave Jackie was have Tawny spending time with her in the house, but if she offers any kind of offensive behaviors, she should use her associative word, which is, which she could recall, come over here, right, to get her away from whatever is causing the offensive behavior. She has 2 times to comply, but if she doesn't comply, she needs to get out of the house. So now send her to the backyard. You got to go to the backyard. So when she sends her to the backyard, which she should be contained and safe and have no worries with that, right? The key element is it's not a timeout, because I don't like timeouts. In honesty, she should just be out there until Jackie's recouped. If she's mentally exhausted, get a breather, and let Tawny figure her stuff out outside. Now, a lot of times trainers go, well, isn't that rewarding the dog?
No, it's not. It's the process of extinction, and it's a great process, right? And that's that is my primary way I work and function with dogs. If you want what you want, we have to do these things. And if you do the things that you're not supposed to, the thing that you want is going to go away.
Okay. The key thing to that process is Knox cannot be playing with her in that backyard.
Right.
So Knox needs to be contained, unfortunately. And also, but here's the thing: if Knox is with her in the house during this time, and she sends Connie out, Tawny's going to work her stuff out. But here's the thing. She's a wolf dog, and wolf dogs are keen to family. So eventually she's going to want to come inside.
Right.
And
So,
she's going to want to stay inside.
I said she had not been giving Knox freedoms, and I was like, Knox behavior is conducive to freedom, and he should have that. Tawny will seek what he has and get to mirror his behavior and start to understand when you reduce and redact what she has. You know, I don't really like to say jealous, but she's going to want what Knox has, so that, you know, she's going to realize that his behavior is not what she's doing, and realize if we correct, you know, in that moment, you know, let's say we jump and we grab an earring, right? Which we did, you know, then we have to go back outside, and Knox did not jump and grab that earring, right? She will be aware that that behavior resulted in losing what she wanted in that moment, and, you know, hopefully, hopefully not repeat the behavioral pattern.
Exactly. And that will happen. Absolutely. So what happens is she starts learning to be calmer, to behave in the house. She starts learning to cause less offensive behavior because she realizes that that's what she has to do in order to be part of the family unit. That's the first step. The second step to this is starting to give Jackie some form of empowerment. And that needs to start off with something as simple as the dogs are not allowed in the kitchen. The dogs are just not allowed in the kitchen. No baby gates, just chastise them out. They're not allowed in the kitchen. And if they reoffend, and you said that twice,
Outside.
back outside.
Right.
So what happens is now she has word association, get out of the kitchen, go back, go outside. So she keeps these word associations. It also helps Tawny start to understand Jackie more. And Jackie starts feeling empowered because she's doing all of this with no treats, no tools.
So there's going to be a fight due to the level of respect in the current level of respect in the current relationship that there is. And we're so used to ignoring Jackie. Like, this is a big fight, and one of the reasons why we utilize tools, so that we can add a little power to Jackie. But I think that if we can work without tools in in that manner, and she feels that she can control her there, and if we did not, if we weren't in our enclosure, we would not be jumping the way we're jumping. You know,
so here's the thing, okay? So right now, the way you're talking is you're scared for Jackie and you want to protect her, okay? We know that the enclosure is the issue. When we get rid of the enclosure and she follows this program, or she follows this treatment plan, she's going to see improvement right away because the enclosure is causing it all.
I know.
So, right? Okay. So it's going to be hard, but it's going to transition very quickly. Now, if for some reason it's a week and Jackie's like, I'm crushed right now, this isn't working for me, okay, then we'll implement the tools. But we need to let her experience that.
So let me pause you, and let me pause and ask you this. I'm going to take you on a little tangent. What do you think about tool usage in a space that is not necessarily secure? We're at a 100-acre park, and we want to make sure that we've got reinforced recall because we might see a deer or a bunny or something that is more valuable than Jackie in the moment. And for me and my personal dogs, go chase the deer, go through the woods, go have fun. I know you're coming back to me, right? I'm not concerned. I know that you can sniff your scent pattern. I grew up on 70 acres with dogs. I'm not concerned if my dogs go off into the woods for 1, 2, 5, 10 minutes. They're coming back to me. Like, I get that, and I don't take my dogs on collar. But in terms of my clients, I don't know that I would necessarily make that same recommendation for them to be so calm. Okay, put a GPS collar on. You know where your dog is. Go hike through the woods and get them. You're very woodsy, right? I just don't. I don't know that. So I think in the current house they're in, the amount of space that they have, once we get used to being out, you're back in the enclosure all over again.
Yep, and then it does all of the work, and then does all of the work.
So I think that being out of that enclosure, we will be fine for 4 to 6 months, and then the problems will start to resurface because we have to have that extra level of satisfaction in day-to-day life.
So here's the thing. So you're onto something. So we're going to be transitioning faster than 4 to 6 months.
Okay.
We can't stay in that for very long. So we got to move forward. Okay. So one of the things is start getting her to understand that she has control over boundaries. Give her that empowerment that she knows how to get the dogs to not go into the kitchen, right? On top of that, she's working on her recall in the house, right? The dogs go to the kitchen, come over here. The dogs don't listen, well then get your ass outside. So she's going to start seeing that improvement of that recall in the house. It's going to make her feel empowered. The next thing I do is I start letting the wolf dogs teach themselves. So what I'll say is, all right, what are the main distractions? People, food, toys, and dogs. So we do test assessments. I want you to leave a toy in the kitchen. They're not allowed in the kitchen. So that toy's going to be there all day. And when it is there all day, if she violates that kitchen boundary, she's got to go outside, right? Then it's another distraction. But we're putting all of the distractions in the kitchen and the boundary that she's not allowed to be in, right? So that also starts increasing the dog's cognitive function with their impulse control, self-restraint, self-awareness, and it's the dog not crossing the boundary. There's no gate preventing that. So then that dog starts to raise their cognition level. Okay, now check this out. This is what we do, or this is what we can do together, because I want to work in collaboration with you. Remember that 30-second follow work where we go out 30 seconds and come back and feed her in the crate?
Yes.
That's where your facility comes in. So what Jackie does is she gets a 50-foot line on Tommy.
We've got the long line. That was one of the early requests.
Yeah. And all she has to do is get Tawny out of the truck, go onto your property, and walk 2 minutes into your property, and then 2 minutes back to the truck. And the truck is the feeding station, which means her meal is in the truck.
Right. So
get her that routine.
I've mentioned this. We need to get the crate in the vehicle, and we have access to food there, so we're gonna willingly go in. And right now the problem is we can't get Tawny in the vehicle and having access to that. And I really should have insisted that we practice getting in and out. And it's on my list. It's something I probably should have done earlier. But
that crate work will. The crate work of turning the crate into a feeding station is going to help with that.
Yeah, once we get used to going into that.
So here's the thing: it'll latently carry over to the truck. You don't have to work on the truck.
It's going to make it automatic. Yeah,
there you go.
I get it.
You'll get this. Basically, if we got rid of that damn enclosure, this would get resolved in like a matter of weeks. But we're not working with just Tawny. We're working on emotional trauma.
I know.
So, yep. So the steps
that's what
a matter of 3 to 4 months.
Right, and that's why I
and also just see 5 more sessions. We're gonna need more.
I know.
We're gonna need.
I know. I told her that it was probably not going to be sufficient in this amount of time, and that it's something that she's going to have to do ongoing and change how we live. It's not a training package; it's a lifestyle, right? I'm trying.
Yeah, and so the thing is the lifestyle she has to automatically maintain the training. So it's not about dog training where you have to reinforce it, because dog training, you have to continue to reinforce it. You got to continue to practice. If you don't, it'll regress. So the lifestyle has to accommodate that. So let me tell you a funny story with my mentor and I. My wolf dogs got really freaked out over the gardeners, like the lawnmowers and the weed whackers, and they were freaking out. And so I was talking to my mentor about it. And I said, you know what? I know what I'm going to do. And he goes, what? What are we going to do? I says, I'm just going to get buy a weed whacker. See, I have allergies, so I can't really do all of this stuff. That's why we hire a landscaper. My allergies are kicking here in North Carolina. And I said, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a weed whacker, and I'm just going to weed whack daily to get them, not flooding, but desensitized to me doing yard work in the house. And the first thing he told me was, no, don't do that. That's not going to work out. And I went, oh, okay. And since he's the applied animal behaviorist with a PhD in comparative psychology, I just deferred to him. It's okay. He told me not to do that. Well, later on, we were in a group class setting with other students of his. And one of the women in that class said kind of a similar thing. And he goes, oh, okay. He goes, well, you're a gardener, aren't you? She goes, yeah, that's why I don't like that he acts like that. I want him to be with me in the yard. And she goes, well, then just do that. Just work in the yard, do your equipment. And then eventually he's going to get fine with it. And he'll be following you around when you're doing yard work. And as soon as he said that, I went, he told me not to do that.
Right.
But he contradicted himself. Right. And I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So I worked for a month on this, and my dogs got better. And I said, you know what? He's going to be so proud of me. So I filmed it. I sent it to him, and he called me yelling like I was a child. What the hell are you doing? I told you not to do that. And I said, but you told so-and-so that it was okay. And since you told her it was okay, I did it. But what's the big deal? It worked. And he goes, no, Tony, it doesn't work because you have allergies. You have asthma. You cannot keep that up. She's a gardener. That's her lifestyle. So her lifestyle will maintain it. You are not going to do that for the rest of your life, and it's just going to all go away. So her routine has to maintain the work. Her lifestyle has to maintain that work, which means that she needs your rental property. That needs to be her.
I know. And that, so I told her, and I hate to say this to anybody. I told her, I was like, you need to move or you should surrender your dog. Mm-hmm. And, I don't, I don't know. A lot of what.
So is your rental property? Okay, so is it my understanding? Because I thought I heard in that video Jackie was talking about moving, or I don't know if it was about moving a shed or something. But is she planning on moving to a different house, or
I don't know. I think that she may go live with her boyfriend, who has farmland, which would be great. I mean, that would be perfect for them.
That's going to be expensive
and be everything.
Expensive.
It would be everything they need, and all the behaviors would subside when we go out and we run with the four-wheeler, and we live in that way day to day. And that's one of the main reasons why I didn't want Tawny in my board and train, is because we have fun, right? We have open space, we have a great time, and everybody has a lot more freedom. And if I gave her that freedom over a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, she's going to expect that as soon as she gets home. And I don't foresee that happening immediately, and that's one of the reasons why I was hesitant, because ultimately that would make the behavior worse if we unlock the freedoms and then remove them immediately for no reason.
Is your rental property available for rent right now?
It's open.
Okay. Do you know what she's paying currently right now on her other property?
It's comparable. Okay. The costs, and it's my dad's property. She'd have to go through him, or find something similar. But there's a lot of stuff in the area similar to that. There's a lot of stuff similar to it. But
I prefer her to be at that property that your dad has if it's already got the hot wires and fences and stuff.
It's set up. It's way overgrown right now because it's been unoccupied and untouched for a year. But a little bit of maintenance. It's a couple of days or a week's worth of work, and it's ready and livable. It needs a new kitchen. It needs a window pane fixed, but it's got new AC, new floor, all the fencing done. I did $100,000 of work to the property, and it's just been kind of let overgrown and be, unoccupied. But the AC's been on. It's a nice property, and the surrounding neighbors were all very friendly to us, and didn't have an issue with our wolf dogs, and they were
So,
all very.
it's interesting because when I was talking to Jackie, she passionately said she wanted to work with me, which I don't work in person. I work strictly just remotely with all of my clients, because I don't really have to be there for a lot of the stuff that I'm doing. And she was very adamant that I talk to you because, again, she was feeling that it would be great, if you were open enough to kind of work under my guidance. Now, the funny thing is, though, is when you sent me your book and you sent me your video, it was just dog training all over it. It was just full operant,
Yeah.
and it freaked me a little out. And I thought I was going to be talking to a dog trainer, and I'm realizing that you actually don't train dogs.
No, I do. I do behavior, and
Yeah, so really, really relieved, because I thought I was going to be arguing with like a balanced clicker trainer or something.
No,
So,
no.
this is really, really good. It's very, really, very relieving. So,
I'll tell you this: I hate doing obedience. I hate doing it. And I'm also, Jackie is going to be one of my last clients that I take on in my for-profit business. I'm retiring from it. I've got some systems going up to set up and fund my charity. I train and donate service animals, so I do stuff like diabetic alert, seizure alert. I've got a number of working seizure dogs. I've got working cataplexy dogs. I've got working diabetic dogs, working autism dogs, all that we've done for free. And a lot of that, I do a little bit of treat training with it, but a lot of that is done through the bond and how they live together. And, I give a little bit of information and then set them up for success to understand how it happens in the day-to-day life.
Every dog I've seen that's been operantly trained has gotten retired early.
I know.
Yeah. So, okay, so let's discuss this then. All right. Let's discuss what we're going to do about Jackie. So what should we do? I'm thinking it would be really good if we shared this recording with her, because there isn't anything
I've intended to, and
there's recording that I wouldn't say to her directly. So I'm very comfortable sharing it.
I agree. Same, and I think that her hearing us agree on a lot of the things that I've brought up and said, we really need to do this and that, and then having your solutions of, baby steps into relieving the fear is going to allow us to do that, and that's something that I didn't think of. We go out, walk 30 seconds, come back, food in the crate, that is very empowering. She'll realize that she has more control outside of her home, and that's going to domino effect into, more. And I think I was getting frustrated, and especially trying to give information, and then we have to backtrack because the information is not landing, and we've received information off the internet. We need to do this here, and that's, to me,
And we need to make sure that we need to make sure that clients stay off the internet. It's a horrible thing, but it's terrible. Even dog trainers should be staying off the internet, because I find that dog trainers get brainwashed and sucked into it too.
There's so much clicky bullshit on the Facebook groups, and I'll go in. I also admin a 12,000 member dog training group. And I'll give my piece from time to time, but I see a lot of people offer a lot of bad advice, and they're professionals. They get paid to do it, and I'm like, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. And then I see some brilliant advice as well. I'm like, that's on point. That's what you should be doing. And I think that I work in a very organic way because how I was raised. I grew up running barefoot, closed list through the woods with 40 dogs. I learned everything directly from the dogs and not from people. And that's how I've kind of done my program, as a way where the dogs can understand what we're communicating to them. And then we transfer that over to the people, but really unlocking opportunities in life for the dog. It's the overall goal of my program, and that's, sit's not important, downstay's not important, come when call's very important, but maybe it's wait patiently at a traffic light, okay, but those all those things are not super important. Just understanding how to interact with other dogs, interact with people, interact
You
with
know,
the environment around you.
so that webinar that I sent you, I sent that to Jackie as well. So she saw that for the very first time, probably around the time that you did. And I'm sure that she's looking in that webinar and she's seeing the freedom that all the wolf dogs in that webinar were doing, just running free. None of them were on double leashes, harnesses. None of them were being manipulated with food or treats. It's just wolf dogs in the background just running free. So I think after watching that webinar, it will also help her understand that there isn't anything to fear as long as it's a safe environment. I'm not saying she should go to the Rocky Mountains right now and not worry about containment,
Right.
um, but she should have the right environment for her animal that she can enjoy, because it's time for her to just get out of her head with the nuances of owning a wolf dog. And it's time for her to have acreage, her own acreage, that she could just enjoy the freedom with her wolf dog and have that great relationship. So yeah, I would share this recording with her.
So when I share this, so let's go back. Off leash on acreage, GPS collar or vibrating collar. I
She doesn't
think
need either. She doesn't need either. She just needs to work on her associative words in the house, so she can start seeing that. She needs Tawny to prove to her that she's capable of listening, which is having things in the kitchen that Tawny knows she's not allowed to go in the kitchen. That's going to build up her confidence. And then doing that follow work on a long line on your property and going back to the truck. And then when she's comfortable, just take the whole section. Say, okay,
right,
we
but
have, let's
what
do this.
happens when we make the decision to run into the woods, and and this is something that I learned hands-on from my dogs, that I didn't have to fear it, right? When the dogs go off into the woods, they're going to chase a deer. Okay, they didn't catch the deer. We made our way back. And obviously you can reinforce a recall. And if I'm out hiking in the woods, I could say, leave the deer, or I can say, go ahead, go have fun. I don't
So
care.
suppose, how are the deer getting in there?
Well, if it's no, I'm saying, like, when we go out to acreage that's unfenced.
We're not going to do that.
Okay.
We're not going to do that.
See, well,
She could do that when she could do that on her own if she's ever comfortable, but that's not the transition that you have to be involved in. I mean, otherwise we're working together with her for like 2 years. That's gonna take a while for her to go through that. And also too, let's keep in mind, she may never ever do that because it's a wolf dog, and wolf dogs get shot when you don't have
right,
eyes on them.
right. And I mentioned that if she goes up to the property that's very country and she goes off, somebody will shoot her for sure.
So even myself doing this for many years, if you said, Tony, we're going out to the Rocky Mountains and we're going to walk our wolf dogs, and we're going to be on an area that nobody's at, I might do it. But to be honest, I'd rather just own land,
Right,
and enjoy my dog.
right.
And she needs that for her soul, and she needs that for her
I,
heart, and she needs to see Tawny running around being great. And then all of the behaviors that she doesn't like, the jumping, the over obsessiveness, will just go away. So that should be, and if you express that to Jackie, I'm feeling that she'll be a lot more open to moving forward with what you want to do, because she knows that that's not the end result. Is you're going to go out in the middle of the woods where there's no fencing,
So, and I right now, with her not moving, that's something that I felt was needed for mental satisfaction for Tawny, right? We have to go somewhere to explore. In downtown Auburn, we could be on a long line. But, if we're out in Chewacla State Park, which is a place where I would take my wolf dog and my other dogs. I'd take a group of 20 dogs into the middle of the state park and hike, no issue. And everybody, we did it hundreds of times.
Yeah, we just have to get Tawny's mind straight a little bit. So you're correct about once she has access to the yard, that's going to be sufficient for a little bit. Until she needs more space. Now the thing is one of the things that I noticed in the video, which a lot of dogs do, it's not a wolf dog thing, is that she started grabbing your long line with her teeth.
Yeah.
She started
So
grabbing it. And that's gonna freak any wolf dog owner out when they're out with their dog on a long line. All of a sudden, they see the dog gnawing on that line. But that doesn't mean that Tawny will be doing that. It's only because of the state of mind Tawny's in right now that she's doing that. So once we give the access to the yard, you put the hot fencing up, right, and that way she could be in that yard. She won't have the habit of chewing on that line because she's getting that sense of freedom now.
Right.
The line has nothing to do with her even trying to break away from you.
Right.
It's just frustration.
Right. And I get that that's not a behavior that would not, the behavior would not exist if we're out and we're constantly moving in an open, plane of existence.
And that is going to be what you just said is 100% what she has to understand is when you are out, you never stop moving.
I tell all my clients being stationary is your enemy, right?
Yep.
When we have, especially working with like reactive dogs, that, if we are standing still and a dog is going to approach us, we're going to be reactive. But if we're moving and the dog's sniffing this tree, that tree, those leaves, they may not even notice that this dog has gotten close to us.
Mm-hmm. Always stay in motion, never stop. Always stay in motion. Absolutely. Yeah. And that will prevent any leash chewing. Yeah, as well. Okay, this is awesome. I think this was a really, really good call. I hope Jackie will enjoy watching the recording, and she'll reach out to me. I'll let Jackie decide how she wants to work with. I think maybe if Jackie listens to the recording, she may say, I think I don't need Tony here. I think we know what we're doing. She may want to work with me with the exercises as far as in the house or those kind of things. I don't know, but we'll let Jackie decide what she wants to do. I think we have a pretty good game plan.
Yeah, I have no issue with going at this as a team. My ego is not inflated. Being able to bounce off ideas with somebody who is also experienced with behavior, mitigating behavioral issues, creating opportunities of freedom, it's just more better information when we work together. I'm with it, and I think that this call was very beneficial. And I knew last night, I was like, we're probably gonna be very close to the same in the way that we work and have some nuances, but not a lot that we're going to disagree on with what needs to happen. I could tell by, I knew it was going to go that way.
Good. Now I know the only thing is I have a monthly membership, so that's how I work with my clients. I don't know what how Jackie's finances are as far as whether she would be able to work with me also.
I think that she could afford your monthly membership, and it would be beneficial to her to have really two places of feedback. And as you have seen my dogs out here, I've got, I think, 17 that I'm walking with. There's not a single e-collar on any of them. Yeah. I use them.
I did tell her we need you. Because I do utilize. Well, I would not. I almost feel bad trying to call you a dog trainer because I don't think that's what you're doing. I think you got forced to be a dog trainer.
Yeah. And let me tell you this: I started my business as a means to an end. And I noticed, and I'm 8 years in, working 7 days a week, and it's made me miserable. I don't enjoy doing the obedience. I don't enjoy it.
Yeah, neither do I. Yeah.
I'm very good at behavior modification and helping dogs live better lives. Fearful dogs, dogs that don't know how to be dogs, you know. But a lot of that is going in and convincing the owners to make the changes that they have to make, because the dog can be perfect in my environment, but if the owner does not alter their behavior or actions. So when I do a board and train, I require a minimum of 4 private sessions with the owner, because
Mm.
you know, the owner has to learn to operate the vehicle. I often will describe it as, you know, give your 15-year-old daughter the keys to a stick shift Lamborghini and tell her she can drive it down the street without stalling it. She can have it. She's not getting that Lamborghini because she's never been in a manual vehicle. She doesn't know to push the clutch in to start the car. Right?
Mm.
You know, there's a lot of things that you have to learn in order to operate the vehicle successfully. And when I say the vehicle, you know, the body that the spirit is within, and guide them to live how they should live. You know, and there's a lot of things that have to happen in a day-to-day life. And so I require those sessions. And, you know, I like when I have more sessions with the client so we understand.
Yeah, I think that in order for, because here's the thing also too, like, and I'm not saying this is what's going to happen. I'm just saying that this is totally hypothetical. Let's say Jackie decided she wanted to work just with me. That would be kind of a mistake. And the reason why is because I don't have acreage that Jackie can come and use. And that's the only way this is going to get resolved. She's not going to be able to resolve that in a backyard.
I agree.
So without that acreage, without that fencing, she's going to just be managing the situation from this point on.
And so I gave her the tools for management. Right? That's why we're working in the way we're working. It's for momentary management, hoping that we unlock these freedoms in the future and have true behavioral resolve. And that's something that I have addressed probably in every session that we've had, is that this is only going to get you so far. You know,
we got to get rid of that enclosure. And then also too, listen, it's the same thing with crate work, right? When people keep their dogs in a crate, they experience the same exact things Jackie's experiencing.
Manic behavior.
Yeah, the same thing. A crate is a lot worse than that enclosure she has, you know, but it's the same thing. It's the containment frustration. The containment always causes abnormal behavior. That's just the way it is in the animal kingdom.
16 dogs living freely in the house. You know, our dogs live free, and you know, I don't do like your standard treat training, but I will cook a pizza for them. You know, I will cook burgers for them. You know, I cook good stuff for them, and they get it no matter what, because they deserve to live a good life. Right? Mm-hmm. I want you to enjoy this lifetime. Your life is shorter than mine. I know that you can smell much better than I can. You know, and so you can taste better than I can. You damn sure deserve a pizza because you're a good dog. You know, so I make it from dough and, you know, and yeast, and knead it and put it in the oven, and we have pizza days. And, you know, we live a very free, you know, carefree life that a lot of owners that contact me would never consider living with their dogs in the way that I do. You know, they don't want them on the bed or the couch. I'm like, it's unreasonable to me. You know, but that's just me. I grew up as an equal with dogs, right? I did not see myself as better than them. And, you know, I grew up sharing my ice cream cones, and, you know, my dogs were what I had. My parents worked, you know, from sun up to 10 o'clock at night. You know, I had my dogs. They were my friends, you know, and they are my friends now, you know, and that's what they are. They're friends, they're family. You know, they're not some subservient being that I get satisfaction from when I'm done with my day. You know, they're not that to me.
Yeah. So so how long do you think this video that you're taking will upload that you can share it with her?
It'll take probably 30 minutes or so. Maybe an hour.
What I'll do is I'm gonna leave it up to you to share this video with her. And then she'll hear this ending part as well. So, you know, Jackie, once you've watched this video, just give some thought about what we discussed. and then reach it back out to me and give me your thoughts. And then we'll move forward from there.
Okay.
All right, Lamb, it was great meeting you, man.
Likewise, Tony. It was a pleasure to speak with you. I very much enjoyed the call.
Awesome. We'll chat later, I'm sure.
See you. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Bye.